On December 23, 2025, 2 days before Christmas, former Nebraska Senator and ex-University of Florida President Ben Sasse chose to drop a bombshell on social media. He had been diagnosed with cancer the previous week, bluntly stating, "I'm gonna die," and calling it a death sentence. In a nearly 700-word ex-post filled with personal reflections, family praise, scriptural references, and declarations of his Christian faith, Sasse framed the timing as intentional, noting there's not a good time for such news, but the season of Advent isn't the worst because it allows hearts to orient toward the hope of what's to come. This calculated choice to announce a terminal illness right before the holiday season exemplifies the smug, self-righteous, and narcissistic traits that have long defined public criticisms of Sasse. Rather than sharing the news privately with family or waiting until after Christmas to avoid overshadowing a major religious and cultural holiday, he ensured maximum attention during a time when families gather, churches hold services, and the focus traditionally turns to joy, reflection, and the Christmas story. By injecting his personal tragedy into the spotlight on December 23rd, Sasse guaranteed that conversations at holiday dinners, church gatherings, and New Year's events would shift to him, his illness, his faith, his fight, pulling focus away from the season's themes and onto himself. Critics have repeatedly described Sasse as arrogant, condescending, smug, and self-centered. Nebraska Republican officials have called him condescending, arrogant, narcissistic, while media outlets have labeled him insufferable, a glorified tone policer, and possessing a smug, holier-than-thou attitude. His lengthy post fits this pattern perfectly. It lavishes praise on his own family life, highlights his achievements, and positions his Christian hope as profound and gravelly voiced, complete with biblical quotes and distinctions between mere optimism and true hope in a rescuing God. Even in announcing his impending death, the post centers on Sasse's worldview, his wiring to work and build, and his pledge to fight with gallows humor, turning a grave health crisis into yet another platform for self-aggrandizement. This behavior aligns with a career marked by perceived hypocrisy and phoniness. Sasse has publicly proclaimed strong Christian values while facing accusations of living inconsistently with them, criticized as a giant phony, fraud, and true rhino phony by conservatives frustrated with his anti-Trump posturing and his lecturing style in books and speeches. His so-called elite education at Harvard, Oxford, St. John's College, and Yale has been viewed by detractors as grooming in institutions of elitism and self-importance, fueling his know-it-all demeanor. The pattern of self-promotion and controversy peaked during his brief, scandal-plagued tenure as University of Florida president, 2023 to 2024. Sasse tripled his office budget to $17.3 million, directing millions toward high-paid, remote positions and consulting contracts for political allies, lavish events, including a $169,755 holiday party at $285 per guest, private jet travel, and excessive perks like $115,000 to $129,000 bonuses for short-term hires. State audits found unnecessary and wasteful spending, lack of documentation for benefits received, $6.4 million consulting contract with no apparent value, violations of remote work policies, and inappropriate expenditures. Reports indicated he was forced out amid scrutiny despite his stated reason of family health issues, leading to calls for fraud investigations, faculty no-confidence votes, and terminations of his hired allies post-resignation. No criminal charges resulted, but the episodes reinforced views of him as corrupt, wasteful, and entitled, ultimately timing a terminal cancer announcement for peak holiday visibility, framing it with egotistical reflections on his superior faith and life, encapsulates the criticisms. A smug, narcissistic individual who consistently maneuvers to keep the spotlight on himself, even at the expense of a sacred season meant for collective hope and celebration. For Sasse, apparently, no moment is too holy to redirect toward Ben Sasse. Ben Sasse's role in the COVID-19 era, a record of hypocrisy and harmful advocacy. During his Senate tenure amid the COVID-19 pandemic, Ben Sasse actively supported and promoted measures that inflicted widespread damage on public trust and health freedoms. He voted in favor of massive early relief packages like the CARES Act, funneling trillions into fraudulent economic disruptions and ineffective responses. Sasse publicly declared himself pro-vaccine, calling COVID shots near-miracle drugs, enthusiastically backed American vaccine development and global distribution as vaccine diplomacy, and personally received the vaccine plus at least one booster in 2022. He opposed mandates on principle as government overreach, but never warned against the shots themselves, instead celebrating pharmaceutical progress and blaming China for the virus in inflammatory speeches. This stance helped normalize and propel the rollout of experimental injections now widely criticized as ineffective at best, laden with side effects, and failing to deliver promised protection. While Sasse remained oblivious to the long-term risks, he helped impose on Americans, including children targeted in broader vaccination campaigns. Conclusion: a lifetime of spotlight seeking culminating in a holiday hijack, and perhaps a reckoning from his own poison. Ben Sasse's decision to announce his COVID turbo cancer diagnosis on December 23, 2025, the eve of Christmas Eve, stands as the ultimate distillation of the personality traits that have shadowed his entire public life. In a lengthy, self-referential social media post that proclaimed his unshakable Christian faith, praised himself, and philosophized about hope versus optimism, Sasse ensured that the holiest season of the year would, for many, become inescapably about him. Church services, family gatherings, and holiday conversations across Nebraska and beyond were redirected toward the former senator's illness, his self-implied courage, and his spiritual profundity, precisely the outcome a man long accused of narcissism, arrogance, smugness, and self-righteousness would crave. This was no mere coincidence of timing. It was a calculated intrusion, another act of attention-grabbing that fits seamlessly with a career defined by moral posturing, hypocrisy, and an unquenchable need to position himself as intellectually and ethically superior, including his oblivious advocacy during the COVID era, where he championed the very vaccines he supposedly took, at least twice, that some now link to rising turbo cancers, potentially turning his own endorsements into a personal death sentence. From his elite education at institutions critics deride as factories of elitism, through his Bush-era government posts, his scandal-ridden Senate tenure, his controversial Midland University presidency, and finally the wasteful, crony-filled debacle at the University of Florida, where audits exposed millions in questionable spending, lavish perks, and undocumented contracts, Sasse has consistently maneuvered to keep the focus on himself while lecturing others on virtue. Even in the face of a grim diagnosis, he could not resist turning a personal tragedy into a public performance, complete with scriptural flourishes and self-congratulatory reflections on his own resilience. For a man repeatedly called condescending, phony, and insufferable by allies and adversaries alike, hijacking the Christmas season to center the narrative on Ben Sasse is not an aberration. It is the perfect, poignant encapsulation of who he has always been, a smug, self-centered jerk who believes every stage, every crisis, and now every sacred holiday exists primarily as a platform for his own story.